Why? You do this. Understand yourself. You walk into a room and instantly feel the tension. A pause, a tone shift, something nobody else reacts to. But your brain catches signals most people miss. And once you understand why, that different feeling finally starts making sense. Like something inside you was tuned slightly differently from everyone else. And if that feeling has followed you through most of your life, there is usually a reason for it. You noticed things other people didn't seem to notice. Small shifts in tone, subtle tension in conversations, moments when the atmosphere changed, before anyone said a word, and your body reacted to those shifts, even when the room stayed silent. Conversations stayed with you longer. A look, a pause, a change in energy that could stay in your mind for hours. While other people moved on quickly, you didn't. And slowly a question began forming in the background of your life. Why do I experience things differently than everyone else? At some point you were probably called too sensitive, too deep, too serious, too intense. Sometimes it sounded like criticism. Sometimes it sounded like a joke. But your nervous system didn't experience it as a joke. It experienced it as information. So you began scanning yourself, before others could scan you. Filtering reactions, rehearsing responses, predicting how you might land, before you even spoke. And there were moments where you felt completely normal. Then something small would happen. A comment that stayed with you all day. A subtle shift in someone's energy. A look you replayed for hours. Other people moved on quickly. You didn't, and that gap slowly started to feel like evidence. Evidence that you were wired differently from the environment around you. But what if feeling different was never a flaw? What if it was adaptation? Nervous systems do not develop randomly. They shape themselves around repeated environments. Around unpredictability, emotional tension, subtle pressure. If you grew up needing to read the room carefully, your system learned to read it fast. If safety depended on noticing small changes, you became skilled at detecting them. Skills like that don't disappear just because the environment changes. They stay active. Your system may have been trained in places others were never shaped by. That doesn't make you defective. It makes you calibrated. This difference often activates in social moments. A conversation where the tone shifts slightly. A subtle exclusion. A delayed reply. Your body reacts before your thoughts catch up. A tightening in the chest. A drop in the stomach. A quiet internal alarm that says something changed, even when no one else names it. Then the second layer appears. You notice your reaction, and you judge it. Now the original signal mixes with self-criticism, and the emotion doubles in weight. Not because the moment was catastrophic, but because the reaction to the reaction amplifies it. Some nervous systems process emotional information extremely fast. They move from perception to activation, with almost no delay. Before logic evaluates the situation, the body has already responded. Heart rate shifts, muscles tighten, attention narrows. Speed can look like intensity, but speed is not instability. It's early detection, and early detection was useful somewhere in your past. When your system processes more signals than average, overwhelm becomes logical. More tone changes, more relational dynamics, more subtle cues. Your brain tracks them automatically. That cognitive load accumulates. Eventually exhaustion follows, not because you are weak, but because your system is running complex background processes constantly. Withdrawal in those moments is not failure. It is regulation. The deeper root often lives in early unpredictability. Not always dramatic trauma, sometimes just inconsistency. Caregivers who were loving but overwhelmed. Emotional climates that shifted without warning. In those environments, perception becomes protection. Children adapt brilliantly. If connection required attunement, you became attuned. If calm required awareness, you became aware. Your brain essentially trained itself to scan emotional environments for micro-signals. Tone shifts, facial changes, pauses in conversation. That is emotional pattern intelligence. So what feels like being too aware may actually be the exact skill your nervous system developed to stay connected and safe. Over time, adaptation becomes identity. You stop saying my system learned this, and start saying this is just who I am. Sensitive, intense, too much, not enough. Labels simplify complexity, but they also trap it. When difference becomes identity, growth feels like betrayal, because changing feels like losing yourself. So you defend the very traits that exhaust you, or you hide them completely. Both strategies create tension. You either over-identify or over-suppress. Neither feels stable, because underneath both is the same unresolved question. Am I wrong for being built this way? Breaking the pattern does not start with changing your sensitivity. It starts with understanding it. When you recognize that your reactions have history, shame begins to loosen. You stop fighting the first signal. You observe it instead. That pause alone shifts the entire sequence. Because now the reaction is data, not proof of defect. You begin experimenting with response instead of reflex. Slowing your breathing, naming what you feel, without judging it, checking reality before assuming threat. These are small interventions, but small interventions applied consistently reshape patterns. Not by erasing your wiring, but by updating it. What if feeling different means you perceive layers others overlook? What if your depth is not excess, but range? Fast sensitivity can look like fragility in loud environments, but in attuned spaces, it becomes precision. You notice shifts early, you sense misalignment quickly, you feel authenticity immediately. Reframing does not deny difficulty. It contextualizes it. Your system is not broken. It is specialized, and specialization always feels strange in environments built for average thresholds. The goal is not to blunt your perception. It is to build stability around it, so difference becomes strength instead of isolation. Transformation begins quietly. It begins the moment you stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and start asking, "What shaped me?" That shift moves you from self-judgment to self-inquiry. Inquiry creates space. Space reduces intensity. Intensity becomes manageable. When it is understood, you start noticing patterns without collapsing into them. You feel activation without attaching identity to it. You allow emotions to rise and fall, without building a story around them. This is not detachment, it is regulation, and regulation creates choice. Relief does not come from becoming less sensitive, it comes from becoming less ashamed. When shame decreases, your system softens. When your system softens, reactions shorten. What once lasted hours may last minutes, not because you forced it down, but because you stopped fighting it. There is a profound calm in realizing you were never defective. You were adaptive, you were responsive, you were paying attention in places where paying attention mattered. That recognition alone can reduce years of internal tension. Because finally, your experience makes sense. Integration means holding two truths at once. Yes, your system reacts quickly. And yes, you can build tools to support it. You do not need to deny your wiring. You need to understand its settings. Some environments will always feel louder to you. That is information, not weakness. As you integrate this, your identity shifts. You are no longer the person who is too much. You are the person with high-resolution perception. You learn where that perception thrives. You choose relationships that value depth. You design routines that regulate intensity. You work with your system, instead of against it. Empowerment is quiet. It is not loud confidence. It is internal alignment. It is the moment you stop apologizing for your internal tempo. The moment you realize difference does not mean deficiency. It means divergence from average, and average was never the goal. You begin trusting your perceptions, without letting them control you. You differentiate between past-based activation and present reality. You build boundaries that protect your energy. You allow closeness without hypervigilance. And slowly, the world feels less overwhelming. Not because it changed, but because your relationship to it did. The goal is not to stop feeling different. The goal is to understand what your system is doing. Most of the time your nervous system is detecting signals faster than your mind can interpret them. So the first step is not control. It's slowing the sequence slightly. The next time that familiar internal alarm appears, pause for one breath. Then ask one precise question. What did I actually notice? A tone change, a facial shift, a moment of distance. Name the signal before assuming the meaning. That tiny pause separates perception from prediction. And when you repeat that pause, your brain slowly updates the old survival pattern. You're not reducing your sensitivity. You're learning to direct it. The fact that you stayed until this moment means something inside you already sensed that this difference had a deeper explanation. Your patterns are not flaws. They are survival maps your nervous system built while learning to read emotional environments quickly. The problem was never your awareness. The problem was running an old survival setting in environments that no longer require it. Once you understand that, something important shifts. You stop fighting your perception and start learning how to guide it. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If your mind has been perceiving emotional signals in higher resolution your entire life, what might change once you stop seeing that ability as a weakness and start recognizing it as one of your greatest psychological strengths?